Guys, we are back, and Derek is going to give you some MLS fantasy outlook for week 21. So that's all I do in this show, and Derek pretty much takes over. So here he is. Derek, all you.
Well, welcome to week 21, folks. Week 20 went pretty good for me. I finished with 101 points this week. I captained Benny Faulhaber, got 24 points out of him, which was pretty good. I was very happy with the score last week, even though a lot of the Twitter guys scored more. But anytime you can score over 100, it's pretty good. Anytime you have green arrows, it's pretty good. That week's over. Let's move on to week 21. There are two teams on bye this week, the New York Red Bulls and the Colorado Rapids. I think's the other one. If you have any Rapids players on your team, you're an idiot. So Red Bulls, you may need to find some different options for them this week, especially if you have Matt Miazga or Bradley Wright Phillips. Luckily for you, I have some options for you this week. We have budget defenders this week. We have budget players in general for those of you looking to load up on the expensive players for the week 23 double game week coming up here soon. That's going to be a pretty good one. It involves Orlando, Toronto, the Red Bulls, and Montreal. There are a lot of options in that game week. I will have them posted on my Twitter account tonight. And to start off, we have a lot of budget defenders. Budget defenders are key. There's a lot of them. You really don't need to spend on defense. If you're going clean sheet hunting, I'd rather go goal hunting than clean sheet hunting because goals count more than clean sheets in MLS Fantasy. Goals are 5 for midfielders and defenders. Midfielders and forwards. And clean sheets are only 4. So it's highly preferable to go goal hunting. And this year there are a lot of lower tier options for defense that are just as good. And 2 of the 4 I'm about to give you do have double game weeks in week 23. So if you have a player like Kendall Watson, who you want to downgrade so you can get more money to get a high-priced midfielder in week 23, these are your options. We have Rafael Ramos at $5.2. Good deal there. He'll get you about 3-4 points a game. Lots of cross bonuses. Thing is, not many clean sheets. When was the last time we had a clean sheet? But I'll take 3 to 4 points from a guy that priced any day. Next one is Jorge Villafana from Portland. He's 6.3. He'll get you some clean sheets. Portland does not allow a lot of goals. He does take free kicks also, which is a good bonus. At 6.3, I'll take that all the time. Third option is going to be Donny Toya with Montreal. In week 23, Montreal plays both games at home, and Montreal is an extraordinary home team. They have made even the best teams this year look like absolute garbage up at Stade Saputo. They made Dallas look like crap. I forgot the score of that game. It was 3 or 4-0. It was an ass kicking. Either way, Toya's only 4.9. They do play 2 home games that week. I forgot their opponents. I think it was New York and DC. Either way, at that price, if he gets you any more than about 6 points, you're set. Last one's Eric Garrick at $5 even. He is a CBI machine. He plays for the Chicago Fire, which also means he's not going to get you a lot of clean sheet bonuses. But once again, at that price, he'll take 3 to 4 points a game. Going down to the midfielders, it's only a few. If you're not spending on midfielders, I'm not sure what you're doing this point of the year, because that's the one position you actually want to spend on. That and strikers, you want to spend on these guys because the top tier options are going to be way more expensive. A couple are Ulloa from Dallas. I forgot his first name. He's $6.5. He's got about 70 or so points this year. So he's good for about the 3 or 4 points. And ever since he came into the starting lineup this year, Darwin Seren has been a pretty good option. At only 6.5, he'll get you about 4 to 5 points a game. Nothing ordinarily special, but at that price point, that's fine with me. And probably the best of my 3 budget midfield options for you this week is going to be Sebastian Lletget with LA. LA has been on absolute fire no pun intended. In their last 4 home games, they have 19 goals. Leggett is producing like Villarreal did earlier this year. LA has been the budget midfielder heaven. Villarreal this year was, if he wasn't injured, I'd still have him. He was that good this year. Leggett has been just as good lately, scoring at least 5 points per game. And when you're playing with Gerard and Robbie Keane and Zardes and Juninho and players like that, you're going to score. He's going to have chances to score. And if you're looking for the high-priced tier options in week 23 that you're going to need, this is the guy you can look for, and you can plug him in even though he doesn't have a double game week that week. I'm that confident in his ability right now. And for forwards, we have CJ Sapong with Philadelphia. Dude's pretty much been like Leggett lately. He's put the ball in the net for Philadelphia. He'll get you those 4 or 5 points a game that you need. And with that goal, anything more than about 5 points per game at his price point, he's only 7.2. That's fine with me. These last two are going to have double game weeks in week 23. We have Mike Grella with the New York Red Bulls. He's only 6.3. He did score a goal against us last week. Red Bulls offense is pretty good. Like I said, they have the double game week in week 23. I'm pretty sure he's going to start and play in both games that week, at least 120 minutes, which is what you'd like. I'm also sure he'd score a goal that week. So if you need a budget tier forward for that week, that's where you're going to look for. The last one's going to be Kyle Larin. I don't like him as much as Grilla for the double game week because I seriously doubt Larin's going to play 150 minutes or so like you'd like him to. I mean, he's not even going to play 90 in a single game week. I'm not expecting him to play a lot in a double game week. As much as I like Larin, that guy is probably a single game week option, but if you need him for that double game week, I don't see why not, even though I personally prefer Grilla. And we're moving on. Like I said about Leggett, LA has been on absolute fire lately. And I got a fan question from my buddy Paul. He's asking me, would you keep Morales and Kamara, or would you go for the LA combo of Robbie Keane and Steven Gerrard? He has 0.7 in the bank. Ooh, that's a tough one. LA does have a lot of away games coming up. For this week, personally, I would favor Morales and Kamara. Morales does play at home this week. He is an excellent home player. He's played Kansas City, who already scored double digits against this week. And Kamara is the leading goal scorer playing at home versus Toronto. There's not much I can ask for. Keane and Gerrard, LA's playing at Houston this week. I'm not expecting much. Maybe a goal for Robbie Keane. I'm not expecting an absolute outburst for LA this week. So for the short term, I'm going to go with Morales and Kamara. And for the long term, you got to go Keane and Gerrard. LA is just on too much fire. And if you can pair those two up, you have to do it. I mean, if there was a good situation for Gerrard for your fantasy purposes, it's LA. And he had 12 points in his first fantasy week. That's excellent. That is absolutely excellent for LA. They beat San Jose 5-2. All right. Moving on. For week 23, you're going to want to pick up these players soon. None of the 4 I just mentioned have DGWs. We're talking the Orlando players, the Toronto players. You should have some of these guys already. Javinko. Kaká's going to be on your team that week. For New York, for that week, Grella's a good option. I would not pick up Bradley Wright Phillips. He has struggled lately. I seriously doubt he takes PKs anymore. He missed another one last night in the Open Cup. Cost him the game. It was in their extra time. Let's see what else I got for you today. Captain's picks. This week for my captain, I'm going to pick Javier Morales. Like I mentioned earlier, he had 12 points in his earlier home game this year against Sporting Kansas City. RSL is always a great home team. Morales is always a great home player. I'm expecting a goal from Morales this week. Hopefully he'll give me some extra captain's points to move up the board. Other options, you can't go wrong with Jovinko. You can't go wrong with Bauhaber. Your normal captain's picks. So this is the time of the year where you're going to start looking for differential type players. Because players like Jovinko and Kamara and Ethan Finley, they have absolutely astronomical ownership percentages. And in this point of the year, if you're trying to catch up, you want good players, don't get me wrong, but you don't want to share those good players with the people you're trying to catch up with, because you actually want to catch up to them. And I just found out I share 9 players with a friend of mine. 9, yeah, I'm not going to catch up with only 2 different players. So good differential picks is Steven Gerrard. He's only owned by about 4% of players in MLS Fantasy, which is absolutely shocking count. Robbie Keane's only owned by 15. So if you want him, I don't see why not. Sam, get out. Let's see. Mauro Diaz and Fabian Castillo, the Dallas DPs. Both of them are owned by less than 8%. Both of them are on fire. Castillo is at 10.7 and Diaz is at 9.9. I would add them in, especially with Blas Perez coming back from Gold Cup. Dallas is on fire. They're leading the Western Conference right now.
How much are those guys? Do you know?
Castillo is 10.7 and Diaz is going to be 9.9. Trying to think of a few others. Ignacio Piatti is probably one of the better ones. He's owned by less than 10% last time I checked. I'll have to recheck that number. He has the DGW coming up in week 23. And he takes penalty kicks, which is going to be a huge tiebreaker for me now. As far as I'm concerned, if you have a tiebreaker between 2 players, you want the one that takes penalty kicks. That's a free goal. Hopefully it's a free goal. Not if you're Dom Dwyer or Bradley Wright Phillips. They both missed penalties in the Open Cup last night. So Piatti will take PKs. Jovinko will take PKs. What actually surprised me is that Kai Kamara does not take PKs. For those of you who watch Columbus, Chicago, Ethan Finley drew a penalty about 12 seconds into the game, and Federico Higuain took it. But you really can't go wrong with Kamara's goal scoring record. That's the one exception I'll go to. If you want a player that doesn't take penalty kicks, you're going to take Kamara. He leads the league in goals. He has over 130 fantasy points, almost 7 a week. So, I mean, I'm looking at players for week 11 that not 11. Why did I say 11? 23 that are going to play 2 games that are going to take PKs, and the 2 that really strike out to me are going to be Kaká and Ignacio Piatti. Piatti is always a better home player than he is an away player. Montreal is always a better home team. And for Kaká, we have a game versus Toronto and a game versus Philadelphia. Not exactly the most intimidating games. I'm hoping for a goal and an assist in double game week. Kaká's not going to sit. He won't accept it, and he won't do it. So I will post all the week 23 options now. The reason I'm talking about week 23 is that you're going to want these players on your team now. If you haven't made these transfers yet, you have 6 free transfers before week 23. If you want a negative to get an extra player, don't go crazy, as always. And that's about all I can think of. My prediction for the leading scorer this week, screw it. I'm going to go Kai Kamara. You can't go wrong with the home game against Toronto. I'm expecting a goal for Kamara. Just in these last few weeks, be wary of ownership percentages. A lot of them are getting up in the 30s. Beware of people coming back from the Gold Cup. Seattle will be good once they come back. Obafemi Martin, Stephon Fry were back in training. Add Dempsey to that, and Seattle won't look like a complete dumpster fire I mean, they lost at home to Colorado. That's all you need to say. Dempsey's under 20%, so he should be a good – He wasn't playing great before he went to the Gold Cup. He should be a good add on the way back. Other than that, I've listed some of the differential players you can use for forwards and midfielders. We've listed some budget options. Just watch your budget, load up on week 23 players, and please, please, please watch the buys. Watch your bye weeks. New York Red Bulls have a couple bye weeks, and it's totally random. If you want their players, fine, but you're going to end up dropping them soon. Other than that, that is pretty much all I have for y'all this week. Any other questions, you can reach me at my Twitter at Rays1299. And good luck this week.
There you go, guys. Derrick is bringing you all the information and, giving you even a little look ahead there to week 23 with the double games. So, Derrick, I just had you didn't really talk about it, and I don't really know. So I was just going to ask you a question. Did any of this week's trades impact any of the fantasy relevant players?
The one trade we're talking about Corey Ash and Akugo trades?
No, I was more referring to the Real Salt Lake and DC trade because I feel that those players would be more fantasy relevant than Corey Ash and Akugo.
Saverio for Luis Silva, right?
Mm-hmm.
This may make Saverio a better fantasy option. He wasn't on my radar before, neither was Luis Silva.
Okay.
There's just so many good options at the forward and midfield options.
Okay.
I'm not really looking at either.
All right.
Practically, it helps both their teams, especially DC. They could use that second striker with whatever the bloody hell is going on with the Spindola.
Alrighty. And then do you think that Corey Ash is going to be a viable fantasy option? I mean, I don't feel like he's going to take very many minutes from Bowden, just generally speaking. So I don't know if your sentiments are different.
No.
All right. So we'll just skip it.
Orlando we're not a great fantasy team. We really aren't.
Okay.
Outside of Kaká, it's a bunch of budget options.
Hey, if those win you weeks, right?
Those are good budget options. We have good budget options. We are not a good fantasy team, though. We do have the budget options to be able to get you the higher priced players in midfield like Jovinko and Morales and Kaká, those kind of players.
There you go.
But they're definitely not going to win you weeks.
Okay. So, and Derrick, since you've been doing this fantasy outlook show for us the last couple of weeks, I think it would be good for us to just include in the end of it, what is your prediction for the Orlando City score
today?
Give us both while you're here. Give us today and give us NYCFC.
All right, I'm predicting. I'm gonna say 2-1 tonight against the Fire.
You think Orlando wins or Fire win?
We're gonna win.
Okay.
We did. I felt like we got a little lucky with the own goals up there, but
a little.
We're definitely a better team than Chicago. As long as we're able to control the pace of David Accam and Kennedy Buonanike, those guys are freaking fast as hell. Not even kidding. They would.
No, Accam's a beast.
Chicago is one of the. I feel they're a great counter-attacking team. They're just not a good team.
All right. And NYCFC?
Probably the same score.
Homer.
Yeah, I'm definitely a homer.
All right.
Would love to say something like 4-0 against New York, but David Villa's been on fire. I feel like he has a goal in him. I feel like we have a couple goals in him. It definitely helps to get that guy Kyle Larin back. Fuck you, pro. All that good stuff. That was basically a freaking slap in the face to Sasha Kleston's dive.
All right, guys. Oh,
it was good. It was good to have Larin back.
I mean, I agree. So there you guys go. You got fantasy information for week 22, a slight look ahead for week 23. As said before, Derrick, you can get him at Rays1299 on Twitter. And if you want to contact me for any reason, feel free. But can't help you much in the fantasy world.
He'll probably just forward the fantasy questions to me or Chris.
Yeah, I'll just forward them to Derrick. And if you, Derrick, hey, if you want to get Chris on here, you can. We'll talk about that off camera. Anyways, guys, thanks for the watch. Derrick, thanks for doing the fantasy outlook for the Fan Channel Weekly. I hope it's something you guys enjoy. Talk to you guys later.
All
Peace
right.
out.